Honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to this one. Fire Oasis is a very big mixed bag when it comes to just being an island. With a ton of options to choose from for fire quads, it was really odd that they picked the two they did, and especially odd considering the lineup this island was left with as a result. With only two, arguably one, percussionist monsters to its name, this island is one of the more uniquely structured one, and not only that, it clocks in at a shocking 2.5 minutes. This makes it one of the longer islands in the game. And did they use that length in interesting ways? Let's find out. Starting at the third worst, we have the duo of Ma and Boscus, or Moscus as we like to call it. These two are here for pretty much the exact same reason, being that they add nothing to the song and are just so uninspired and throwaway that you have to wonder if the composer just forgot about them until the very end. I could excuse these two if their addition to the song was only minimal or just uninteresting, since that's how a lot of monsters scrape by, but there's also one other huge downside for them. They play in by far the worst verse in the entire song, and only add to the cacophony of sounds and loud noises. They make a bad verse worse just by existing, and that's the inexcusable part. Second place is, well, unfortunately, the quad itself, Snazer. Here's the thing with Snazer on this island. Since it already had a castle base, they decided to give it a sort of low pop synth sound, and it's just awfully bad. The way to fix this one is so simple too. It is so simply easy that I cannot fathom how nobody at BBB ever thought it was wise enough to do it. Just switch the sounds of the castle and Snazer. In its current state, the castle on Fire Oasis does more than the final monster, which is so absolutely, inexcusably, unmeasurably bad that it leaves me both confused and enraged. On its own, I guess it's just mediocre. It is basically a less impactful Mammoth and less powerful than pretty much everything else that plays with it, so chances are you probably won't even notice it to begin with if you wanted to. Worst monster is honestly going to be pretty shocking. I feel like people don't expect dipsters to be in the bottom 3, let alone number 1. But yeah, they're absolutely abysmal. These pill-shaped tumors have 3 huge problems on this island. First one is that they're way too loud. They're so loud in fact that I honestly have to turn down my device whenever they start playing. Second issue is that they only play in one verse, making the absolutely mind-slogging task of getting them not even worth it in the end. These things are insanely annoying to even get one of, and now it's gone to a point where it's not even in your favor to do so. Last problem is that they are completely a pace breaker. Fire Oasis' original version was honestly pretty decent all things considered structure-wise, with a pumpy opening with emphasis on bass followed by a soft mellow verse that leads back into the pumpy bass verse. This clear structure was even emphasized with Godblegord's release, giving the third verse a strong reason for existing without ruining the tone it was going for. Then the dipsters come along and decide to turn that verse into a completely different one tonally, and by consequence makes the transition to the Godblegord verse painful. All in all, these things are just suck hard this time around. Dishonorable mentions include the following monsters. Pango is one of the only 2 percussionists, so the fact that it's this minimal is laughably bad. You can't even use the excuse that it's all they had to work with, since Bone Island has showed that castanets and soft drums is all you need. Growl is infamously bad on this island. The loud screaming method of singing just doesn't really fit, and it's one of the main attributors to that verse being disliked in general. Tweedle is also pretty bad, and is the other main attributor to that verse being so bad. It's super repetitive and loud, having only a 1-bar phrase that it just repeats over and over and over and over again. Quibble isn't necessarily bad, but it's really weak by Quibble standards and falls into the cold island trap of just repeating the rhythm and melody of everything else but on a piano. So, the bottom monsters are kinda awful this time around, both thematically and sound-wise. They either don't fit the tone of the song or just do not sound good on their own, or even worse, a combo of the two. That being said, however, I bet you're wondering what the good half of such painfully average songs are like. Well, let's take a look at those, shall we? Third place is really the only percussionist that does anything, Kongle. The track itself isn't amazing or anything, and the sound alone isn't super revolutionary. Heck, it's not even that good rhythm-wise since it just repeats the rhythm everything else does. So why is it here? Easy, because again, it's the only percussionist that does anything, meaning by default it has to be high considering it carries the entire aspect of musical makeup by itself. It's basically just here because nothing else can be here, making it a bit dishonest, but whatever. Second place is Willowby, who once more pretty much just covers up all the dead air. Despite just exclusively being strings, it does so much at the same time, making it hard to ever not place it super high, but that also raises an issue since I literally said everything you need to hear about this monster back on the Cloud Island video, meaning I don't really have anything to say at this point since it's already been said. I will say one thing though, and that's the fact that the one verse in the song that most people consider awful is coincidentally enough the one verse where Willowby doesn't play at all. Makes you think, huh? First place is the duo of Kana and Wink. Starting with Kana, and that melody is next level, with the rising first half and the slow lowering second half perfectly closing out to the climax of the song. Then we got Wink, and boy howdy, this is a true adult Wink we all needed. Cave Wink is good, but this feels like a true adult version of the Wink we first met on Continent. It's such a unique sounding vocal with a really gruff and rough voice that still somehow makes the song better just by being there. These two easily are the best thing on this island, and also, and easily, the best verse in the song, so it was kind of a no-brainer all things considered. Honorable mentions include the following monsters. Waddle is pretty decent in this song. Fangler is also pretty good in this song. But one of my friends pointed out something that I will never be able to stop thinking about. These two should have switched tracks. Think about it. They'd both be so much better if they did. Mammoth is doing Mammoth things, and almost exactly like Cold Island, it ends up just being the rhythm that like 5 other monsters copy. It's a really catchy melody though, so points for effort. Toejammer reprises its role of duetting with Mammoth, and it's very pleasant when they're together. These two may be the strongest duo in MSM, since they always just bounce off each other so effortlessly well. Gobbledygourd is weird. It's not the best sound in the world, but it serves an important role in the song. Without its inclusion, that verse has literally zero reason to exist at all, and it is a carbon repeat of the first time it plays. Gobbledygourd also at least fits the rhythm of the song, unlike Firehaven, so it's pretty decent all things considered. I just wanted to bring that up since so many people seem to still hate it. Fire Oasis falls into a lot of the same issues Cold Island fell into, whether it be monsters not doing enough, monsters constantly repeating the same rhythm and melody, and just generally being an overly long song. That being said though, it pulls it off way better than Cold did, and I'd say it's a stronger song overall. It's nothing special, but it's nothing harmful. A painfully average song that doesn't do anything. At all, really. Now that enough time has passed, I'll reopen Earth Island once more for voting, and by the time the next episode comes out, the new Magical Island will probably have dropped, so just going to remind people in advance that there needs to be at least a 4-week buffer before we do any islands with new additions. Now that that's out of the way, I'll see you all in the next video. Alright. So, Fire Oasis. We all talked about it hard, and in the end of the day, we gave it a 4 out of 10. And that puts it directly behind Firehaven, coincidentally. We kind of took a while to rank it, because, realistically, I would much rather listen to every song in C before I would listen to Fire Oasis. But it's still technically a better song overall. The issue with the 3 and C is that they all have aspects that painfully bring it down for pretty much the entire song. Fire Oasis doesn't really have that. It's mostly just meh. So yeah, that's the reasoning. I want to give reasonings more often so people can understand why. Also, if you haven't noticed, we made a tier at the bottom just so that it's easier to identify which ones we haven't done yet. Alright, that's pretty much everything for me. I'll see you all next time.